Let's talk nutrition. Yeah. Dr. Jesupelumi OreOluwa Adenihun, Dr. JP, which is what she's fondly called, is a visionary leader in clinical practice, nutrition, health management, and of course, health technology. She co-founded Checker, which is a trailblazing health technology company, revolutionizing access to rapid and high-quality diagnostic services. Her work also extends to Iwosan Wellness Center, where she serves as a wellness physician, integrating lifestyle practices into modern medicine. On nutrition this morning, we discuss the future of food, trends in nutrition. That's the aside of it. It's so good to have you in the studio with us, Dr. JP.
I'm happy to be here. Good
morning. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good morning. Okay, so when we talk about trends in food, because before you talk about the future of anything, you need to touch on the past, of course, make reference to the present, and then you can now talk about the future. So trends in food has varied through the years. So let's talk about the past. Let's start from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Okay, so, you know, over time, we've seen that there's been a lot of evolution when it comes to food and even the kinds of things that we eat. And you'd observe that even in our conversations, so we make references to, oh, these are not the kind of things that our parents or our grandparents used to eat.
Yeah.
Like they ate foods that were locally grown, things that were whole, and we'll say sometimes that those things were rich, they were nutritious. But over time, we started to see that we're now going towards, should I say, westernized meals, and then we're having more processed foods, and those things are now even being tied to health risks that are causing a lot of damage to our health. But now, if we say where are we headed to, because, I mean, we see that what has happened is these foods have not served us excellently well, particularly the, highly processed foods.
Sure.
So now we're saying we're going back to the basics. What are those things that we actually require for our health? What are those things that will build our health sustainably? What are the kinds of foods that we should eat that would help provide the adequate nutrients that we require for the different phases of lives that we're in, and would also help to prevent diseases that we can actually prevent.
Yeah.
And even in terms of talking about diseases again, the foods that we need to eat to better manage the health conditions that we have. So that's where we're heading to now when we talk about food.
Amazing. So now, let's head into that future.
Okay.
What should we be on the lookout for? What should we know? What should we take note of moving into the future food-wise?
Okay. So thankfully, I function as a medical practitioner as well, so I can easily, see how everything ties together. And, when you're talking about the future and even like the trends in nutrition, so what we're really saying is how can we integrate, healthcare? How can we integrate nutrition? How can we now integrate food to say we're having, healthier lives or a sustainable life? So if you're talking about the future of food, so that means we're looking at things to say that, okay, is food accessible? The foods that we need, are we saying that they're accessible? Then you're also saying that, okay, we're moving towards a plant-based diet. Now, I'm not saying a vegetarian diet or anything, but I'm just saying a plant-based diet. And when we're saying that, we're just talking about things that, we're eating more meals that are less processed and more plant-based meals that would serve our body better. And then we're also talking about personalized nutrition. So just like we're having the conversation, what is it that you require for this current phase of your life? What is it that I require for this current phase of my life? So those are the things that we're looking out for when we talk about, food. And then other things that we're also looking at, we're saying, are these foods, readily available? And when you're talking about food generally, you're looking at the accessibility, you're looking at the affordability, you're looking at the availability as well.
Those as well. Because the moment you mention personalized nutrition, I'm like, okay, that's when you are going to be told to get the roots of acacia plant, one plant that you probably have to climb 7 mountains to find.
So again, that's where the future of food is tilting towards, to say that we are going to make use of things that are locally available in the best way possible.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be something that, you have to travel 7 seas to get. So how can the locally grown foods, for example, we're Nigerians, or let me say we're Africans, with the foods that we have, how can we maximize them to provide us with the nutrients that we have? So that we know that it's not until, you know, we see the highly processed things or maybe the foreign things before we think we can actually eat better. So that's where food is tilting towards. And then we're also seeing things that are embracing more, should I say, more climate-friendly, you know, approaches. So when you talk about plant-based meats, you may have heard of things like that.
Yeah.
So now people are becoming, you know, they're becoming more open to eating things like mushrooms, right, and other plant-based, you know, meats that are now available. And then all of these things are just showing us that, okay, we really care about what we eat. People will start to ask questions. So now people are becoming more aware and they're saying, okay, what is on the label or what is in the meal that I'm eating? Am I aware? Do I recognize these ingredients? And if you notice whether with your snacks or with your foods, you see that even the packaging of the meals are now different. So people are now more aware of making use of things that are, you know, recyclable and even reusable. So we are all conscious of our environment, we're conscious of the impact that it has on the environment, we're conscious of our health, and we're also conscious of, you know, the foods that we're eating.
So I'm very interested in the personalized food plan, which you said is for the future.
Yeah.
So using me as, you know, what shall I call it, a specimen in quotes. Let's assume you want to create a meal plan for me. What are the things, the parameters you're going to make use of before you arrive at one?
Okay. Thank you.
Don't mention my BMI.
No, I'm not talking about your BMI. Of course, it's part of it, but I'm not touching your BMI.
Okay.
So, interestingly, last year I authored a book, and it's called It's to Wealth. And in that book, so
It's to Wealth.
Yes,
okay.
It's to Wealth. So, of course, we say health is wealth, and that's like the basic building block. So, It's to Wealth. And in the book, I had created a 21-day meal plan that people can make reference to. But before that, you already had guidelines to show a building block on how you can create a meal plan so that it's not something that is rigid for you, but something that you can also understand and tweak based on your own reference. Now, back to your question. So first off, as a medical professional, I know that for me to get you to where you need to be, I need to know where you are right now, like in the state of health. So the first thing would be to say, okay, how is Mary doing in her health? Like, what are your health vitals, your health indices? So I want to even know how you're doing as a person, like your blood work, right? Things like your cholesterol level. So we'll do a full health check on you and then say, okay, is Mary really optimal, like in her health, aside maybe the body goal that she has? Then from there, we'll now start to say, okay, beyond the outlook, beyond how you look physically. So these are the things that we need to adjust. So let's now get it to a perfect, you know, near perfect state of health that you can be. So we go with the health values and then now counsel you based on what we see. And again, another thing that will be happening in future, you know, you'd have probably heard of things like nutrigenomics. So people are now concerned that, is there something in my DNA, you know, that could be affecting the foods that I should eat and then affect my weight? Like, so for example, if you see me and you see my dad, I'm almost the same replica as my dad.
Wow.
So is there something in our DNA that is
so
saying,
you
okay,
can consume the world and still look trim?
So is there something like that? So
I understand.
That will be coming up as
See, there's so many angles to this, and I'm so glad you touched on all that, because I've been eyeing you, thinking to myself, what did they chop? What did they chop? But really, thank you so much for your time, Dr. JP. Thank you indeed.